I'm Giles Corran. I'm a writer and a restaurant critic. I'm being joined by comedian, maestro and well-known salad fancier Sue Perkins on an extraordinary journey through the dining habits of the last 2,000 years. Each week we'll be medically tested, dressed the part and forced to trough our way through the breakfasts and banquets of Britain's culinary past. This week we'll be stepping back to the 1950s, an era where we started on rations and ended by never having had it so good.
Is this the right house?
I don't know.
I'm not absolutely certain we haven't come in next door.
There we'll be having the boss round to dinner.
Oh, I looked really, really girly when I did that, didn't you?
Pigging out on Britain's first pizza.
Now that is groovy.
And quaffing cocktails on the motorway.
Oh, that's marvellous. What's that?
Gin, vermouth and camp coffee. Cheers.
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
The 50s was a decade of two halves.
If you would only
The early years under Prime Ministers Attlee and Churchill were mired in austerity and rationing, a grim hangover from the war. But the end of the decade brought prosperity, leading Harold Macmillan to remark that we'd never had it so good. This week, I'll be living the middle-class life of a sales manager at one of Britain's new car companies. At home, Sue will surrender all the hard-won freedoms that women enjoyed during World War II to become the perfect 1950s housewife. But before we head back to austerity Britain, we opt for a 50s-style check-up with GP Roger Henderson.
Hi, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Dr. Roger.
Hi, Harold. Good morning.
His methods would have been common practice in Britain half a century ago.
See what we're waiting?
Dr. Roger gives us some idea of what to expect of the 50s, health-wise.
All of a sudden, the brakes start to come off and we get introductions of American foods, processed foods, tinned foods, ready-made foods. For the first time, the amount of fat and sugar that you start to eat starts to creep up. And it's not too fanciful to say that the current obesity epidemic that we're now in the middle of really started to creep in. That was when the doors started to open. And so bit by bit, our calorie intake went up. The other thing that would happen when you walked out, certainly in London in the 50s, you stand a good chance of dying from smog. You know, we've had the Clean Air Act, nice and clean air outside now. But forget, in the early 50s, smog would kill 4,000 people. And literally, there were occasions in London where you could not see your hand in front of your face. It was that thick.
But so there's lots of fat people wheezing, blundering around like this. It's basically sort of like a children's party game in the dark. So at the end of this week, you're expecting us to become wheezy bloaters?
You're not going to be wheezy bloating lard balls, but you may have put a pound or two on, depending on how much manual work you did.
To be honest, I'm looking forward to going back to rationing. You know, one might think I wouldn't, and when we were rationed for our World War II efforts, I was dreading it. And in the end, I quite liked it. I liked having my food intake restricted. It's good for you. It makes you strong. It makes you a better person. I think morally, Sue and I are going to end up on a far higher plane.
Well, I think you'll be standing, I'll be on the floor scrubbing. So I'll be on a lower plane, actually. With my,
fit and
my elbows
healthy.
in this.
Our house in southeast London is one of thousands that were built in the late 40s to replace those bombed during the war.
Pencil moustache is a dangerous cross between Errol Flynn and Oswald Mosley.
This 3 up, 2 down is typical of the period, with all mod cons including an indoor bathroom and central heating. Helping us out with the cooking is Mary Berry, TV chef and cookery writer who learned her trade back in the 50s.
Morning, Mary.
Morning, Sue.
Lovely to see you.
Hello, Giles.
Oh dear, this all looks familiar, doesn't it?
So those of us who've lived through the 1940s?
Yes, we've experienced rationing and it looks like it's just carrying on. I mean, this means like one big breakfast and then 6 days of sitting and twiddling your thumbs with nothing to eat.
Ah, but in 1954, it's getting better.
And under here...
Very gently. Okay. There we are.
Now that...
Does that look a bit better? Are you a bit happier about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a mixture of happiness and depression. The chocolate and the vegetables excite me, but then there's these elements.
Well, this is great news. Sliced bread.
The best thing since.
Finally, you've got a metaphor describing novelty. It's fantastic.
Mother's Pride, it was the first, and they were very excited by it. And tea bags.
Hallelujah. So
That
suddenly...
was thought to be very exciting.
Sort of perforated gym slip, wrapping a bit of leaf tea.
Finally, you could make your tea taste faintly of laundry. That was the great invention there. This must have been exciting, to go straight from austerity to Tony the Tiger.
No.
Must have been really, really exciting.
Sugar-coated cereals, like Frosties, which launched in 1954, were part of a 400% increase in sugar consumption during the decade.
Also, because we can buy frozen and canned, the seasons, people forgot the seasons. And that was that was started then, you know, that you always used to buy your asparagus in, you know, May and June. So
And fish
then
fingers,
you had it
fish
in
fingers go
cans.
south in sort of October, November, and that's when you eat them.
Well,
Any
yes.
other time, it's ridiculous.
And you've gone from this, in the war, to this butter mountain here. I mean, there's going to be consequences.
They must have eaten a lot of beef suet.
There's a lot of beef.
Because when there was the suet crisis in 56, wasn't there? When,
Just leave a space around that. And if you want to send flowers for that joke, you could do so. Giles Corran.
But before we can get our hands on all this colourful convenience food, we're going to have to suffer some slimmer pickings. To kick-start our austerity drive, Mary's reanimated some stale bread under the grill and made us a thrifty breakfast from cheap canned salmon, which was much more readily available than fresh fish at the time.
And there's another one for Sue to taste. I wonder what she's going to think of this. Right, here it comes.
Oh, wow.
Ambrose Heath's fish breakfast.
It's served through the hatch, a coveted feature in 50s homes lacking domestic staff.
Parsley, though, that's not so austere.
I love the garnish as well.
Well, it cheers it up, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
because without the garnish,
Yes,
aquatic porridge.
You want some tea?
Yes.
These are the leaves from last week, which
Fine.
I've rinsed them through.
You can see from reading the leaves at the bottom we're in for another terrible breakfast.
Come on, be brave.
What is it?
It's a blight. You can tell us what's in it, or would you have to guess?
Go on, have a guess. No, I think I'll tell you from the
Sardines.
No, it's salmon. Salmon, but it's been really well seasoned with some cayenne pepper, a dash of
A bit more
tarragon
pepper would be
vinegar.
good.
Would you? I've got a bit of cayenne here.
Oh, lovely. Oh, there is a little bit of cayenne in there.
Yeah,
But
but
it's fine.
remember, it is the hottest of the peppers, so just take a pinch.
I'm being a bit squeamish because of the look of it, which is, let's face
fine.
it, it's like something you've dredged from the bottom of an aquarium, but it tastes nice.
Good.
You want some more pepper?
Now, remember, that is pretty hot. Be careful.
No, it's fine.
Well, it's not one.
No. Ah, you're too slow. Can't hit it.
So I guess by the time you come home from work, I should have picked the fish out of my teeth.
Well, someone should have done it for you.
Yeah, don't forget this. There's some leftover salmon in there.
And by Paul Mac?
Mwah. Mwah. I haven't been invented yet. Enjoy selling cars.
What?
Mwah. Enjoy working, enjoy freedom, enjoy liberation, enjoy not cleaning, enjoy being a man and having fun and doing stuff. I'm going to go inside now. Goodbye.
The average working man either walked to work or took public transport. Barely 10% of households owned a motor car in the early 50s. The vast majority of cars produced in the UK were exported to pay for Britain's $1 billion wartime debt. I'm doing my bit for Britain's export market, working at Bristol Cars. I've been slowly creeping up the corporate ladder since the company was founded in 1946, concentrating my efforts on motivating the workforce. Unfortunately, they just want to drink tea.
But there isn't any roar when the clock strikes 4. Everything stops for tea.
Tea breaks were common to all British industry in the 1950s, when workers downed tools daily, both morning and afternoon, for 15 minutes. In the eyes of many managers, this disruption affected productivity, and I'm certainly not going to tolerate it. After calling a lengthy board meeting to discuss this age-old problem, I come up with a radical plan. In fact, any attempt to ban tea breaks in the 50s led to all-out tea strikes, usually until the management caved in.
What's this about? We want tea! We want tea!
Well, I think I handled that rather well. I wonder what Sue's up to.
I'm scrubbing the house from top to bottom. In 1951, just 1 in 5 women went out to work. For her indoors, the 50s was a real chore. Women up and down the country were united by scrubbing, cleaning and cooking from dawn till dusk.
You dirty little boy.
The average housewife worked a 75-hour week, not including work she did at weekends. Before labour-saving devices and gym membership, women kept fit on a diet of hard work.
The thing is, you sort of scrub, clean, brush for sort of 10 hours. Then your husband comes in, opens the door. There's a huge, great gust of smog and soot. He's got filthy shoes. Within 15 seconds, he's brought this tidal wave of cack through the front door. And you're like, darling, hello, lovely to see you. Mwah, mwah. Excuse me. Back on the hands and knees again. Scrape, 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 scrape.
The 50s saw great advances in labour-saving electrical appliances. Such an array of dazzling devices led the Consumers Association to launch Which magazine in 1957 to help people choose. But until I can get my hands on any, I'd best get on with Giles's dinner.
This is horse meat. The government were desperate to find new sources of meat.
Yeah.
Because we just didn't have enough.
And thankfully, the 315 at Aintree.
Yeah.
This is your first time you've cooked horse. And what do you feel about it?
Well, it just looks like venison to me. Terribly, terribly lean. There's not an ounce of fat on it.
People get a bit squeamish about, I don't eat a horse and stuff, don't they? I mean, we didn't have a lot of ponies in Croydon, so it's not something that I personally have a problem with.
With little spending power and a hungry population to feed, the government even resorted to importing whale meat and reindeer.
Of course we will be cooking.
Oh, no,
you're not going to like that.
An animal's died, you can't put that around it.
Well, that's it. That's what we've got.
There's no respect in death for this fella.
And
I can't believe margarine's gone in there.
So you see the funny smoke that you get with them.
Awful.
That's because of the water in the margarine. There we are.
Giles likes his so that it's still possible to race in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. That's pretty much how rare.
The cabbage that has been cooking for a jolly old time.
Let's smell it. Oh, that is a belch from every orifice of Satan. That really is.
Now you see, if there was some left like that, and a bit of potato left, fry it up again in margarine, bubble and sweet. Now you see, we've got this nice sauce here,
Horsey custard there.
made with the off-white flour and a little bit of milk, a little bit of stock. I'll put just a little bit on and
Just a
and
little.
season.
Oh yeah, I do love the skin. Actually, I might have to
Do you?
just. That's a skin graft you've got there.
Okay, get it up then. Oh, do you
Yeah.
like the skin on custard too?
Oh, I love it. Love it.
Right. Shall we just get the potatoes on the edge of that? There they are. Oh, nice and hot.
You need a neutral sauce to really offset the blood there. You've done it nicely rare. He'll love that. Hello, dear.
Hello, dear.
I haven't moved from the spot. I've just been standing here waiting for your arrival. Now listen, I've got terribly bad news about your pony. Let me tell you about it.
What, George?
There we are.
Oh, marvellous.
That's yours.
Oh, good God.
And there's yours.
Thank you very much. Hurrah. This is delicious. This is horse again, is it? It's nice and rare.
Yeah.
Really good.
Put a saddle in mine. Now, I'm worried the cabbage wasn't cooked for long enough because we started it about 7 hours ago.
I could smell it from halfway down the road.
Farty mush, isn't
The
it?
minute I got off the bus, mind you, everyone in every house all the way up the street is having the same meal, aren't they? Horse
Yeah.
potatoes and cabbage.
So, well, you haven't asked me what I've done today. Well, I've done lots of things, apart from moving the table. It's not just moving the table. For a start, I thought, well, I should try and do some flower arranging, and I just got some dead flowers, and we haven't got any live flowers.
You'd really like that.
God, does she ever shut up? James Bond wouldn't put up with this. Secret Agent 007 first appeared in print in Casino Royale in 1953. An instant bestseller, it provided a touch of glamour to alleviate Britain's post-war gloom. I slipped off to Number 5 Club, where author and Bond expert Simon Winder tells me more.
Can I offer you a cigarette? You'll find that they are already lit.
Oh, excellent.
Given to you by Q.
Over a martini, shaken obviously, we discussed the influence of the 1950s on Britain's favourite secret agent.
He was quite a kind of a hero to all sorts of men, and I guess offered a possibility of escape from the drudgery of a life working in a car showroom and having a frumpy wife back home cooking horse meat for you.
I mean, it is one of the poignant things about reading Casino Royale is that it's so wishful. All he has to do is fly to northern France, to this bust-up resort with this dodgy clientele, And that's escape enough with currency restrictions, travel restrictions, rationing. No one could even visit northern France, really. And so all he has to do is go there and order up a cocktail, and immediately the fantasy is up and running. There's an amazing bit in Casino Royale where there's a whole paragraph about him eating an avocado pear.
I didn't know that was actually in Bond books.
Yeah, no,
the surprise his foe into a coma by...
Yes, you know he's won at that point. He's only there because no one has been able to eat them for 14 years, except, of course, Fleming himself can, because he's sitting in Jamaica.
Growing all over the place.
Oh, yeah, tucking into great mountains of avocado pears. So it's a very mean gesture.
So we've got a fairly escapist Bond dinner, a fairly lush affair. I think we should escape to that.
The champagne which Bond had ordered on their arrival stood on a plated wine cooler beside their table, and Bond poured out 2 full glasses. Vesper busied herself with a delicious homemade liver pâté, and helped them both to the crisp French bread and the thick square of deep yellow butter set in chips of ice.
This is the great meal that Bond and Vesper have at the end of Casino Royale, shortly before she tops herself. I'm obviously not Vesper, so there's a lack of verisimilitude. But yes, they have lobster, they have butter with heaps of ice. An entire street would live off this butter for about a month. Strangely large numbers of scenes in the book consist of him simply having toast with butter on it. And
really? In the films, which is how most people know it, you don't get that much food because you spend all that money and just have some handsome man to stand there just chomping his way through platefuls of food doesn't work. Yes, in the books they're there, are they?
In the books, which was so redolent of 1950s values. Amazing. Probably in some of the books, almost as much time is spent eating as killing people.
James Bond licensed to nosh.
Absolutely.
If you're not eating that claw.
Ooh, please help yourself.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not Vesper.
I could tell that he was a Russian agent when he didn't finish his lobster claws.
Seeing as she's worked so hard in the house, I've decided to treat Sue to a day out. So we've come to London's South Bank to visit the Festival of Britain.
Don't make fun of the festival, don't make fun of the fair. We must pull together in spite of the weather that dampens our spirits and straightens our hair. Let the people...
The festival, opened by King George VI, was a real tonic for the nation, lifting people out of their post-war misery by heralding a bright and exciting future. In short, it gave them an excuse to step out and have some fun.
Take a snooze in the concert hall, at least it's warm.
Of the acres of pavilions, restaurants and exhibition spaces, only the festival hall remains. And it was here that one of the most celebrated meals of the year took place. As 20-year-old Betty Dark arrived at the festival, she was stopped and snapped by the paparazzi. Fated as the 1 millionth visitor, Betty, along with her fiancé, was treated to a slap-up feed. We're heading upstairs to relive that lavish meal with historian Juliet Gardner and Fred Peskett, who visited the festival many times as a boy.
Festival Hall 1 millionth visitor meal. Steak, fried egg, fried onions, mushrooms, chipped potatoes.
Can you imagine being in the queue and being the 1 millionth and one person?
I know.
You'd just hate Betty all day long, wouldn't you? You'd want to spit on her steak. Just thankful it's not horse.
Well, yeah, we had horse meat last night and it's probably more tender.
But what actually was the festival?
It was a national celebration. It wasn't just confined to the South Bank exhibition. There were travelling exhibitions up and down the country, and every town, village and city had its own festival committee and its own celebrations.
I just thought it was here.
No.
I had no idea. It must have been absolutely packed down here because you moved. Was it rammed with festival goers?
Yes, it was. I remember it pretty packed myself. In fact, some photographs I took on the South Bank, you could hardly move.
Though the area's fairly small, climb Discovery's dome.
8 million people came to visit the festival site in London. For a bit of fun, people went to the pleasure gardens down the river at Battersea Park. But the real showpiece was the South Bank site, dominated by the Skylon and a huge dome of discovery.
The Millennium Dome is the work of Peter Mandelson.
Yeah.
This was the work of his grandfather.
Exactly. Yes, he was the biggest sponsor, wasn't he?
That's right, Lord Festival. It was his.
So dome-based madness runs in the family. And then you've got the big Skylon. You've got the huge 300-foot...
like a great illuminated cigar, piercing the gloom. That's what people said. And also, you couldn't see how it was up. Actually, it was held up by wires and pulleys and things. But people talked about it as having no visible means of support, which was a bit of a metaphor for Britain at the time, really.
Betty's extravagant meal was finished off with strawberries and ice cream and sherry.
Nowadays, festivals, you think of loads of different tents with lots of different types of food. What did you actually get as you were passing through these million different exhibits?
It was the very first time when I came here that I actually saw a hot dog stall.
Really?
In 1951, it was a hot dog stall.
And what you've got largely is fish and chips.
Fish and
isn't it?
chips.
I mean, that's what people, that was a treat, wasn't it? Fish and chips.
Presumably Betty, by this point, was so spannered she could barely walk. I was just hoping to God there were no more paparazzi on the way out to catch her as she retched over her own breast.
Blow your trumpets, roll your drums, cross your fingers, hold your thumbs, even if no one...
After a spot of souvenir shopping,
My own monogram Festival of Britain pants. Racy, sexy. Is your blood rising? Is it? Is it?
Sexier than the usual stuff.
we decide to finish our grand day off with a show. Agatha Christie's Mousetrap has just opened at the Ambassadors.
I'm really worried I'm going to be the millionth visitor to this theatre. We're going to have another steak and chips.
One critic has suggested it has a fair chance of success. 57 years later, I think we can safely say he was right. As usual, it's a real pea super outside.
Smoggy as ever.
Yes. Mr. Churchill's obviously been tonight.
Smog, a noxious mixture of fog and smoke, plagued London well into the 50s, until the Clean Air Act demanded smokeless fuels and relocated power stations outside the city.
Smoke gets in your...
Oh, dear.
Is this the right house?
I don't know.
I'm not absolutely certain we haven't come in next door.
Hello?
Hello?
Mrs. Adkins?
I think we're home.
Do you know what? I need a cigarette to clear my lungs. Come on.
And for those long nights in, radio was still the #1 home entertainment.
I wonder what's going to happen with the lesbian love triangle.
Yes.
The Archers, Britain's longest-running radio play, began in 1951.
Today in Ambridge, there's one principal breakfast table topic of conversation, particularly among the leading personalities of the village.
Before the rise of television, it played to a peak audience of 20 million.
Come in here, darling. Come on, have a little snuggle. Hello? Yes, put me through the television shop, please.
It's the day of the coronation. King George VI is dead, and his daughter, Elizabeth, is about to ascend the throne.
I want one. I want it quite soon. It says here, 35 shillings a month. Yes. Yeah.
The BBC have special permission to televise the ceremony, and I don't want to miss a second.
Yes, send it round soon. Yes, very soon.
Meanwhile, Sue's in the kitchen getting ready for a special competition.
For the month of the coronation, butter and sugar rations were doubled, and with eggs freely available, the country went cake-bake crazy. Cake competitions became incredibly popular. So to celebrate, we're having our very own cake bake-off.
I knew you were coming out of bake the cake, bake the cake, bake the cake. If I knew you were coming out of bake the cake, how'd you do, how'd you do, how'd you do?
Careful with that. Mind how you go. I'm just going to move this piece of old junk. Radio. Finished. Televisions and mahogany cabinets killed the radio star.
Look, this is a delightful sponge. Look at that. That's all the ping and spring of a Jane Mansfield hooter. That really has. I'm delighted with it. So now comes the time to decorate. Classic sponge. Little jam. Get it right to the edges. Good dollop of cream.
Just as I start to add some colour, our first guest arrives.
Anthea Turner. Who would have thought it? Lovely to see you.
The BBC's Perfect Housewife presenter should provide me with some stiff competition.
Yes. Hello. I'm on a baking high. Happy Queenie Day.
Next up is Claude Askill, the local WI champion cake baker. Then it's Mary Berry, the queen of cakes herself.
Let's look at your sponge. Oh, no. Mine's about a quarter. It's incredibly dense. What about a millimetre high?
And finally, Marguerite Patton. Britain's first TV chef has kindly agreed to come and judge the cake competition for us.
It's too exciting. I'm more excited than I can possibly say.
Okay, cakes, please. Come here for the cakes. The first cake. Hello. We'll put this one on this cake stand, and Mary's on this cake stand.
And that one.
And that, yes, that's it. Don't mind fingers. That's fine. It's the 1950s. They have
Right. Mine's sort of in bits, so it comes in a tin.
You pre-sliced it.
Yeah, it's all pre-sliced, ready to eat very quickly. Quite disgusting.
Spit on that cake. Lift it up. Yeah, there we go. We've got Sue's lovely cake. We've got Anthea's rustic cake, very moist. We've got Mary's Victoria sponge, and we have Claude's chocolate cake.
I have tested chocolate cakes from Land's End to John of Groat's Inn,
Claude.
and most of them has been rotten. That's one of the best chocolate cakes I have ever tasted. So, madam, you are crowned.
Oh, she's won. That was it.
Marvellous.
She's absolutely won. Here we are. Let's say
Do the crown.
Yes.
As the rest of the street turns up to freeload, it's time for some serious eating.
Hello, it's the Queen! Hello, you little tiger! Most flatulent dogs in Britain, Claude. Lovely to have one in there. I declare this calorific buffet open. Go on, help yourself.
This very English menu was devised by Marguerite Patton for her own coronation buffet served in 1953. No foreign muck here.
Coronation buffet. Avocado dip. Cheese straws. Cheese soufflé tarts. Potato crisps. Salted nuts. Seafood and rice ramekins. Coronation chicken. Duck and apple salad. Potato salad. Russian salad. Gooseberry fools. Summer meringue nests.
Well, Margaret, we've got some coronation chicken here. Now, did you have a role in the creation of that? Were you involved in that?
No, that was Constance Prime. And funnily enough, we really didn't know much about it in Coronation Year.
Right.
It took several years before we all... Oh!
I should imagine it took that long to digest from the looks of it.
As everyone tucks into party food, the BBC's very own perfect housewife gives Sue some domestic advice.
You see, the thing is, the lovely thing about the 50s ladies is they are house proud.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with being a little bit house proud.
There is if it's
They've got a nice clean step and a nice clean front.
But they haven't got a personality. Listen, you are a woman who advocates the ironing of pillowcases. This is alien to me. But why would you want to?
Why would you want to not iron your pillowcases?
Because I feel I've just got to be cooking and cleaning. It's all right.
But what about your man? How am I supposed to
and do you look after him?
Yes. What
Do
about...
you keep him clean?
Do you want to see what my pants look like?
Did you iron this? Did you iron this?
Did she
Have you heard
iron
of
this?
starch?
I put it under the mattress and sleep on it at night to get a little bit of straightness.
You like to be very kind.
Oh my God, Marguerite, I'm so sorry. We forgot we were having a massive row over you.
Would you be very kind and put a small portion of coronation chicken plus a fork on my plate?
Time for telly. By the time of the coronation, some 2 million homes owned a television set, but the audience actually swelled to a whopping 20 million, swamping radio audiences for the first time.
You would think that they'd be in colour. All the money we spend on them, you'd think they could actually be in colour. There it goes, crown's on.
Now she sits there for like 7 hours while she talks in
She's
Latin.
got the sceptre, she's got the orb, she's got the hat.
It's not about the bits and pieces, love.
What is
it's not about the trinkets.
Oh, it's not some
it's about
long
a
Latin-
1,000-year history of majesty. Vivat, vivat, Regina.
Do you
and
take
all
this
that.
country to
She's
the
got the
old
jewellery
woman?
now. She's off. It's not how it was.
To the Queen and all who paid for her.
Gladly. Gladly.
The coronation had done wonders for British morale, and barely a week later, another chance to raise it further presented itself. After 19 years of failure, England finally had a cricket team capable of winning back the Ashes. I'm at Lord's with cricket writer Simon Briggs and Ollie Hutton, grandson of the legendary England captain Len Hutton, to relive the welcome luncheon laid on for the Australians by the British Sportsman's Club.
Well, here's to
Cheers.
the impending Test series.
Cheers.
Maybe we'll finally win the Ashes.
The rather pretentious menu consisted entirely of French dishes.
First course, quiche Lorraine.
Cricket is the only sport that is built around food.
Here at Lord's, the catering was famous, and county cricketers always used to look forward to their trip to play Middlesex. And eventually, I think the chef had to be told to tone it down. Fewer school puddings, less stodge and fewer potatoes, because Middlesex players were getting so fat.
But then the age of the fat cricketer, I suppose, since Shane Warne, it's sort of over. The end of Inzamam and Shane Warne, do they still have them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sport where all shapes and sizes can be effective. It's not like football, where really you've got to be svelte and be able to run like a deer.
Did they really care? Did people go to watch these very boring matches in 1953?
The grounds were absolutely
more than ever.
heaving. It was a national sport in the way that it probably isn't today. I mean, football now has taken a massive lead in terms of popularity, but cricket really was the thing in '53.
Second course, Pour les poils bon moment, pomme cocotte, petit pois.
So poulet bon maman is what they ate, chicken with basil. And probably basil was very scary to the Australians. They're used to just eating basically, potatoes and beer and a bit of kangaroo, and the actual idea of herbs
Demoralised them before the series even started.
would have terrified them, and we're kind of showing off the bounty of almost end of rationing Britain.
Dessert, bombe glacée.
Very hard to say what's in here. Tinned fruit, frozen, absolutely solid, wrapped in custard and ice cream. Maybe literally a bomb. It's so tantalising. I can see a grape in there, as if preserved in the Neolithic pack ice. Once upon a time, they had fruit in this land.
Yeah, I won't be finishing this.
Well, this would actually serve to commemorate Edmund Hillary's ascent of Everest. When asked why they'd eaten this thing, they just said because it's there.
And in India. Yeah, off the hip.
And to finish, palmier café.
And these are some palmiers. But they're easier to make than they look. Do you know how you make one of these? Take puff pastry, lots of sugar, roll it all up, slice it thinly, lay them down on the thing, puff, and up they come. I thought for years that you had to coil it all up into a little thing. Actually, so it's a doddle.
Exceptionally sweet.
You have not been happy with a single ball. Right, we've had our lunch. You've got a free lunch, much as the Australians did in 1953. Are you ready to come and help England regain the Ashes?
I am.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Oh, yes!
I think that could be the Ashes. Actually, I wouldn't really do that, would I? Well done. Well done. And a back foot cover drive. Why not?
Well, that was fantastic. I mean, my patriotism already bumped up by the coronation by selling great British cars and eating terrible English food. It was just to win the Ashes. I absolutely got the sense of that mid-decade, boost that they got.
The 1950s was the decade of the dinner party. With rationing a thing of the past, improvements in the quality and availability of ingredients led to a new sophistication in the kitchen. With Giles' boss coming to dinner tonight, I'm going to try something adventurous. Thankfully, Mary's here with an exciting new cookbook.
Elizabeth David wrote Mediterranean Cooking after her travels in 1950s. This is the total change of having exciting things to do. I mean, gazpacho, absolutely wonderful. When Elizabeth David first brought this over, everybody thought, cold soup. We'd only had hot soups, no cooking at all for gazpacho. Right, spring onions and a little bit of garlic chopped. Now that we hadn't been using garlic for years, and here it is in. And then green peppers, not red peppers, first of all.
Well, communism. I mean, I won't have anything red in the house.
Then we put some egg in here. We've got some nice fresh thyme. And I'll just pull the leaves over.
Elizabeth David's quite, enterprising for a 1950s cook. I mean, she's got this incredible, like whole sheep with Turkish stuffing and sun-dried tomatoes for people that had never seen the sun or a tomato. I mean, it's quite aspirational, sort of giddy stuff, isn't it, Elizabeth?
But she was a great traveller, and she lived with ordinary families and learned the peasant cooking. Elizabeth David really was the Jamie Oliver of her time, and everybody followed her, took her books to bed.
Elizabeth David's cookery books were bestsellers and helped drag British cookery out of World War II. Mary suggested cassoulet for the main course. I just hope Giles' boss likes foreign food. With it bubbling on the hob, I nip into the garden for the latest in table decoration from Constance Spry, florist to the Queen.
She was a properly brilliant person. She brought out a book with a rather odd title. I presume she brought it out in response to people saying, "Constance, how'd you do the flowers?" And she's gone, "Here's how to do the flowers." For anyone who's ever received a bunch of flowers with a massive great cabbage or a cauliflower in the middle, which is very in vogue, that's the sort of thing that Constance Spry was into. So she would just say, grab a leek. There you go. Grab some broccoli. She basically said you could be a millionaire for a few pence. This was her thing, that you could ransack sort of bombed out sites and sort of skips and graveyards, whatever you want, and you could find something to make your home look pretty. And in the despair of sort of post-war Britain, that must have been a very beautiful thing, I think.
When you walk in the Garden of Eden, with a beautiful woman and you know how you care, and a voice in the garden of Eden.
While Sue's downstairs cooking, I'm going to groom myself. It's fairly primitive in the 50s. No deodorant yet for men, so just talc. Late 50s, they got... Mum invented the roll-on. That was really for women. Men didn't smell, or if they did, it was good. It was a good smell. So we put a bit of talc under the arms. I mean, I had a bath last month, so there's there's no real problems there. And then I'm told, anyway, unless it's that I put a little bit of this eau de cologne, which is sharp. Why you put the 2 under, I don't know. I've made a kind of pate. Got to get my hair just right, because, as I see from those sitcoms, if anything goes wrong, I could lose my job. If the wife comes around and says, that employee of yours, Corin, his hair was like, did you see that dangly bit in front of his eye, the tufty bit? And they just dropped me for someone with slicker hair.
Hello. Tony Turnbull is in fact my real boss at the Times, so I'm on genuine best behaviour for him and his wife Amanda.
So, right, one Baby Sham.
Baby Sham was launched in 1953. The Alco pop of its day, this bubbly little number was marketed specifically at women.
I'm quite... I've had no idea what Baby Sham is, to be honest, but...
A very sweet, sparkling perry, isn't it?
Perry,
perry, yeah, I think so, isn't it?
Right, cocktails. A Bronx. At this stage, are you quite impressed with what you're seeing?
I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
Is that promotion on the company?
I'll want to see what comes out of the kitchen before I commit myself.
It'll be my wife. Right, I would probably have practiced this before you came. I would probably have had 7 or 8 of them to relax if this were a Terry and June.
Little yeah, exactly.
Should we try and...
Cheers.
Sweet.
Oh, sorry I'm late. I've been boiling a pig, so yeah.
But you're doing some crude vulgar things.
What, boiling a pig?
Mr. Turnbull.
Literally, I have
lovely
boiled a
wife
pig.
Amanda.
It's very nice to see you. Very nice to see you.
Try not to embarrass me.
I haven't been out for 6 years. Once I've got absolutely steamed on pure alcohol cocktails, I like to play a variety of sexually inappropriate and loose party games.
Right. This is where I have to leave.
No, you can watch, and you can play a part. I've been reading 1950s manuals on party games, and this is my favourite. I'd like to play this if you're up for it. Whose lap am I on?
Tequila.
Oh, it feels... sounds like something with asthma.
Drink, everyone, come on. Drink it up, drink it up.
More games. This is called Bursting Balloons, and the game involves blowing a balloon until it bursts.
Tequila.
Oh, I looked really, really girly when I did that.
Well, that seems to have loosened things up.
Some snacks that I made.
My party book also recommends rather bizarre cocktail savouries.
Is that Weetabix? It is, with parsley butter and a bit of fish and some aspic. Go on, tuck in. Or you can have the liver sausage and piped butter.
Low-calorie, healthy option.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
A lot of fibre there.
Are you sure you've got this right?
I don't believe the Weetabix.
How are you feeling about that?
Oh,
really bad.
Yeah, really bad.
That is really, really bad. One of the worst things I
think I might actually
ever tasted.
Don't peek too early, because the worst thing you've ever tasted is yet to come.
Oh dear, Sue had better pull something decent out of the kitchen, or my promotion's history.
With home dining so popular in the 50s, hostess trolleys were all the rage, if a little temperamental.
It builds up such a head of friction on this carpet, this thing. Right, I'm just parking the mothership. This is gazpacho. That for me is not very much of a soupy texture, but there's a little bit of olive oil in there, which we got from Boots.
Thank you.
Boots?
Yes, they only sell it in Boots.
Ah, is that some kind of medicinal...
Moisturises the skin and scalp, but it also makes a fantastic dressing, I've discovered.
I thought it was always for clearing out your ears.
Well, I did that before.
And
Sorry?
we used it.
Oh, yes, waste not, want not.
Terrible faux pas, I'm using my...
No, you're quite right. I'm using my
Is
fork
that-
because I'm drunk full of Bronxes.
Sort of...
Well, I think the silence really
Lemony.
covers all the bases, really.
Lemony, this will make...
I propose a toast
Yeah.
to my boss. Hurrah for him, and long may he be the most powerful man in motoring.
You're too kind. You're too kind.
Thank you.
Oh, and I do admire your flower arrangement.
Thank you. What I've done is I followed all the books and brought a little bit of the outside in.
just about got away with that, but Sue's cassoulet had better be spot on, or I'm for the high jump.
Right. Sorry, it's a little bit...
It shows how far we've come around, doesn't it? I mean, it does
So
look
what are these beans?
pretty contemporary.
Haricot.
A lot of pork,
Yeah.
but no duck, so it's not a duck one.
There's a real whiff of the hutch about it, isn't there?
Surely the next party game is to identify the different bits.
Yes,
Can
exactly.
anyone do that?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, I
So
can't.
that's
Well,
pork.
I've just glued sausage.
Okay, with all that fat.
Oh no, that's duck. Or is it horse?
Hang on, to do this properly, we should be blindfolded.
So what is in here?
There
What have we
is belly pork, there's slow roasted duck, there's Toulouse
That's all.
sausage, there's pig strosser.
This is very good.
To be
actually.
honest, this looks very 1950s to me.
Yes, it does.
I must admit, your flower arrangement's looking more enticing now.
I feel
Can I-
quite like
Yes. Can you pass me a stick?
a little stick of
a like
celery.
a stick, so of course.
You can have the weed.
Is that's no.
I'd be worried about your promotion now.
I've got to eat it if the boss hands it to me.
After coffee and cheese, our guests are ready to hit the road. I think that went rather well.
She loves an eggnog. Oh, my wife.
I've decided to take Elizabeth David to bed with me this evening. It is like sort of gastronomic pornography, particularly if you consider the time in which it's being read. It's sort of an arid food landscape, and suddenly she comes along and she shines light on the cheerlessness of the British plate. You know, you've gone from horse meat and whale meat suddenly to aubergine and saffron and pasta.
The 50s were overshadowed by the threat of nuclear war. After Britain joined the Hydrogen Bomb Club in 1957, CND was formed and had soon organised a large demonstration in Trafalgar Square. Sue's gone along to do her bit for world peace.
War! What is it good for? Absolutely nothing! What? Say it again? Well, I will! War!
The demonstration was followed by a 50-mile march to the Nuclear Weapons Research Centre at Aldermaston, attracting 8,000 footsore protesters.
How much further is it? Where's Aldermaston? What? Berkshire? I've got to walk to Berkshire? Are you mad? Berkshire? What, outside London? I thought we were just going down the... Ban the bomb! Ban the bomb! Unfit women in the twilight of their 30s against the bomb.
Having worked up an appetite, I stopped for some 50s-style sandwiches.
Well, I've got a dazzling array of sandwiches. We've got banana and chutney. Oh, I mean, it's an evergreen. What's not to love about a big, stinking, carbohydrate-y slop? Then I've got not just cucumber and parsley. Nice. And then I've got yeasty carrots, which have leaked like a dodgy reactor over the spongy bread. There's something about the combination of yeast and banana in the wrapper as well, which really has all the allure of an excitable kindergarten toilet.
Do you know what? I think I'll pass.
Taxi! What do we want? Fish fingers. When do we want them? 4 minutes. Right.
Having been out all day, I want something quick and easy to cook.
Now. That's fair, you're going straight for the freezer already.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, look. They're fish fingers, which we keep...
Fridge freezers and frozen foods were major players in the 50s social revolution, helping bring to an end both the daily shop and seasonal fruit and veg.
Look, who's been cooking for the best part of 500 years?
cooking?
And who's not been in the kitchen?
But now they've invented convenience food, which
Yeah,
conveniently
all
I
you're
can
doing.
do. Is this all you've been doing?
Fish fingers first went on sale in 1955, though they were almost called frozen cod pieces.
Do it in C&D. Ow! Ironically, that's the only nuclear-proof thing that we own. Oh, yeah, look at you. Oh, well done you. Burning fingers.
What's wrong with that? That's how they're meant to be.
Carbonised fish fingers.
Fresh as the moment when the pod went pop, I'd say.
Look.
Do you think they're edible yet?
I don't think they were edible from the moment you put them in the grill pan.
Hot. Oh, no.
You know what's convenience food we've got, okay?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we haven't got any convenience cutlery or a convenience chair, so inconveniently, can you kneel down and eat it just like that?
Okay. But you're eating it. I hope the Russians don't invade and bring an end to our sophisticated civilization.
If they do, they're just going to see my massive petticoated ass.
Let me have some.
Wow.
What's for pudding?
Right, my favourite. Very convenient. Brick and berries. There you go. There's your brick.
Aren't you meant to defrost those? You won't be able to...
It would have been more convenient, but I like to see them as mini lollies.
Quite cold.
It is quite cold.
Quite sour as well.
It is filling. This is...
Every little star above knows the one I love, sweet Sue, just you. And the moon up high knows the reason why, sweet Sue, it's you.
In 1953, the publication of the second Kinsey report on female sexuality caused a sensation. Its explicit content was matched, graphically at least, by the launch in the same year of Playboy magazine.
You live all the time, sweet Sue, just you.
Well, good night then.
Good night.
One, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, a rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, a rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, a rock. We're going to rock.
The late 50s saw the emergence of the teenager. Tired of stuffy old traditional Britain, young people wanted something different, and Children's Hour gave way to rock and roll. Until now, cool teens had looked to Europe for style. The first Gadget machine hit London in 1952, and 500 coffee bars had sprung up by the end of the decade. Hip young kids drank espresso and chomped through endless slices of Italian rarebit,
Thank you.
now more commonly known as pizza.
Now that is groovy.
Although they made up just 10% of the population, teenagers were responsible for a quarter of all sales of clothes, cigarettes, records and cosmetics. But the greatest influence on the young people of Britain came from America, notably glamorous Hollywood movies. For years, the poverty-stricken British had been bailed out by US money. Now, cool kids couldn't get enough of American culture. Fashions, hairstyles, rock and roll, even 10-pin bowling reached these shores by the end of the decade. But as Bruce Welch of the Shadows remembers, the big hit was American food.
Knickerbocker Glory, Banana Split, Coca-Cola.
This must take you back. This surely screams the 1950s.
This is the 1950s in the Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Not in Newcastle.
Is that why you came down to London?
Yeah. It took me about 10 years before I could afford one
Did you
down
have
here.
to become a pop star in order to be able to afford it?
You did, yeah. We started in October '58, and Cliff was enormous.
Well, that's what I've heard.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So we were touring all the time, and during '59, we decided it would be a cool idea to have a flat in the West End.
Where?
In Marylebone High Street.
Cool.
Wow, very cool. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, £4 a week each. And over the road, there was a new Wimpy bar. Now, I can't tell you how exciting a Wimpy bar was in 1959.
What, hamburger, hot dogs?
Hamburger, hot dogs.
And did you go everywhere on your own big red London bus?
No, I tell you what we did. Once we made a little bit of money, we needed wheels. Hank had a Vespa.
Yes.
And I had a Lambretta 250.
That's cool.
Super cool scooter.
What colour?
Blue and white. And I had a white crash helmet. It looked like a right dick. Yeah. And we were driving to Soho from our luxury apartment in Marylebone, down Berwick Street and all the other coffee bars and stuff still going on, and see our old mates. It was great fun.
Gee whiz, it's you. The American influence on British music was huge. Cliff Richard and the Shadows were massive, and their dancing was copied by teenagers everywhere.
Right. And 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got it. 1, 2, 3. See?
Oh, yeah.
You've got it.
What happens now?
Nothing.
You go into a trance.
After a week, we
So
get
this
paid.
is dancing?
That's it.
This is what they call dancing, yeah.
All this time I've not wanted to do it because it looks so different.
No, it's... Look. He's away, look.
Jazz.
See, he's got it. He's just got it now, look. He's away.
It's time for a holiday, and who needs abroad? By the end of the decade, 1 in 3 households owned a car, and with the opening of Britain's first motorways, people were liberated to travel the length and breadth of the country. There's no speed limit yet, and my Morris Minor can do 0 to 50 in a staggering 30 seconds. Halfway there, we stop for a bite to eat. Motoring picnics were all the rage with new car owners.
It's just tea for 2 and 2 for 2.
There's no reason why one shouldn't be civilised, despite the fact we're on a lay-by.
Can't you see how happy we could be?
You want tea?
Oh no, I think we should start with a cocktail, don't you?
Nobody near us to see us or hear us. Friends and relations.
What's that?
Gin, vermouth and camp coffee. It's good, isn't it?
It's lucky there's no rules against drinking and driving in.
No.
The breathalyzer was not introduced until 1967.
More? Oh, good on you. Cheers.
No, we've got a couple of... Talk me about it. The picnic was actually introduced in the same year as the motorway. Very, very nearly called the Cadbury's motorway, this bar.
Ah, that is exquisite.
Accidents and the law aside, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one real drawback to drinking and driving. When the Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, said most of us had never had it so good, he wasn't lying. We had near full employment, wages had doubled in 10 years, and every worker qualified for a statutory 2-week holiday. As a result, Britain saw a boom in holiday camps, like Mill Rythe on Hayling Island.
I'm enjoying my holiday so far.
You booked the room then?
Yes, I asked for the Matchbox suite and we got it.
Having settled into our chalet, we take full advantage of all the activities on offer. After all the hardships of the early 50s, it's great to let our hair down.
Well, you can rock and you can roll and do the stop and even scroll it at the hop. When the record starts spinning, you your lips and when you're chicken at the hop. Do the dance sensations that are sweeping the nation at the hop.
For our last meal of the week, we join the masses in the dining room and find ourselves alongside social historian Dominic Sandbrook and Shirley Lewis and Sylvia Endicott, who between them worked in Butlins holiday camps for 47 years. We're following an original 1959 holiday camp menu, starting with cream of mushroom soup.
So you both went to holiday camps?
We worked. Yeah.
Worked in not as long ago as the 50s, though, presumably.
From 58.
So what did you do in 58?
I was a little nursery nurse. And we had a dining room, and we used to have to cook and feed 200 under twos. All in high chairs, in long rows, 80 to 100 high chairs, 3 cooked meals a day.
That's hard work, isn't it, prepping all that?
On 2 sittings, because
And what were the parents doing while you were doing that?
They were having to go into the dining room and have their own meal.
But they couldn't take the kids in with them?
No.
Was sort of
Under twos weren't allowed in there.
What? Because they might turn their nose up at the cuisine the adults were having.
And what did the grown-up campers eat?
Monday night it could be chicken, Tuesday night it would be roast pork or lamb or whatever. But it was on a 7-day cycle. The centres would be open for 10 weeks, 20 weeks or 40 weeks. If you come back later in the season, it's still the same meal.
But basically it's a formula, isn't it? It's a thick soup, followed by a hearty meat dish with some veg on the side and then a big English pudding.
But that's what you get in any restaurant in the 50s. Any restaurant, or if you went to a hotel for dinner, that's exactly what you'd have.
3 cooked meals a day.
Yeah.
So you look at the lunches, don't look at the dinners, look at the lunches. The lunches are massive.
So Saturday is relatively light, veal, ham and egg pie.
Because that's intake day, so people are arriving on a Saturday.
So because then on Sunday you get a roast top side of beef. Then on Monday grilled pork chop. Then on Tuesday roast top side of beef again. And then Saturday your booking ends after breakfast! Exclamation mark. Sorry! Exclamation mark. But we do hope to see you again soon! Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
Yes, Rouse. You might well say there is an element of the. No.
After the war, a lot of the senior officers who were running these military establishments then went on to run the holiday camps.
So basically it's jolly barracks. That's what they've transformed the barracks into a centre of fun and enforced fun, which is my favourite kind of fun, actually.
And it's all part of that kind of collective entertainment thing. So, you know, you don't go away on holiday as a family. You go away with, you know, people used to go with everybody on their street. They used to go on outings and whatnot. It's all about doing things in a group and doing things with, you know, you can't go to a holiday camp and be an individual and be, you know, a maverick and not do any of the activities. You've got to join in. You've got to have a sense of fun and laugh at all the, you know, ugliest baby competition or whatever it might be.
That was me, Dom. That's a slightly painful moment there.
Second course, braised steak, potato croquettes, medley of vegetables.
And remember, while you're eating this, you've never had it so good.
Look, yeah, it's lovely. Braised steak.
The food on the holiday centres wasn't bad. The presentation sometimes wasn't good.
I've got to say, the food reminds me of boarding school.
Yeah, it is school food, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
It was, and afterwards I'm going to be forced to do exercise against my will, and then I'll be made to have a cold shower in front of Mr. Richardson.
Dessert, peaches and ice cream or cheese and crackers.
The 50s, I suppose, is the first time you can talk about a mass leisure industry for the majority of, you know, working class people. They can go away, they can have the pleasure of being cooked for and cleaned for and whatnot.
I have that every day.
Yeah, well, I think it's a brilliant thing. I do. I mean,
and for women, it is a huge thing because, you know, a woman's work is never done at home.
But I would feel too much empathy with people serving me. I'd just be feeling their pain because they probably have to go home and do their own housework and then come out and serve.
Yeah, but then they go on holiday themselves.
Full up after all this 50s feasting, we make our excuses and leave. After a long and eventful week, it's time to turn in.
The 50s is a sort of transitory time between, you know, 40s war, depression, rationing, hardship, and the 60s, which is all about the self and freedom of expression and madness. And in that decade, you have that incredible sea change from one to the other. And there's 10 years of the most sort of seismic social shifts and dreadful food.
Well, I ate quite well.
Yes, but men always eat well through any period of history.
I've drunk champagne with almost every meal. We had champagne at the coronation. Seconds later, it was Bond time. I ate champagne then. I had lots of lobster. I had champagne at the holiday camp. I had champagne when I played cricket. I won the Ashes. I won the Cold War. I defeated Drax and Blofeld. I drank an awful lot of Bollinger.
And I cleaned a toilet.
Good night, campers.
The 50s over, it's back to Dr. Roger for our medical evaluation.
How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Nice to see you.
So, if I remember rightly, we bet, Sue, that you'd lose a couple of pounds, and we bet that you, with your coughing, would put on a couple of pounds.
Okay, so if we moment of truth.
And you have lost a couple of pounds.
Brilliant. Nice. I'm going to say the 1950s forever. I'll be miserable, but I'll be quite thin.
Moment of truth.
And he's put on £3. Result.
What do you know? What a surprise. Well, that must be all that horse.
Red meat, booze, cakes.
Next time, we're heading to ancient Rome. And it might be the death of us.
I think they do millennium. No, sorry. I actually had a slight joke then. But,
See, I don't make the mistake of talking.
My spirit guide is with me. You're right.
I'm all right.
That's usually me that does that.
Oh.
That's the first. I do that everyone.